Hey everyone, we are live. I am Joanna Fleur. This is the Reach and Teach Show. Every Monday we come out here on Facebook on the Church Communications group, and we're talking about Reach and Teach means to me evangelism and discipleship, facilitated by digital tools. And so I have been joined today. You can see up in the corner. This is my friend on the screen, Kevin. Say hey, Kevin.
Hi there.
But for people, some people know me, some people don't. Definitely no one knows you. So let's just introduce ourselves first. And throughout this, if you're watching, say hey. If you have any questions as we talk, Kevin is from Faith Tech. It's all things technology to serve the church and to serve the world, of course, through the church. So for me, I do communications and creative work. I consult with churches, have a church leadership background, and I've been doing this for 10, 15 years now, balancing my history in theology and my history in business, trying to mesh those together to serve churches and for such a time as this, right? So, Kevin, who are you?
Yeah. So yeah, my background was as a worship pastor and a web and graphics design company owner with my wife, and also a business consultant. So I had 3 part-time jobs going on, but then Faith Tech came along, and I've started doing work for them, which involves church ministry and business, which is really, really great fun. It's all about trying to bridge the gap between the tech community and the church community, and helping passionate technologists who are Christians find a role in the whole church ecosystem, which goes beyond just switching up the slides on PowerPoint and whatnot, and finding real roles for these innovators and these thinkers and these creatives in the landscape we're in, particularly the changing landscape we've just encountered now. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
So how did you connect with Faith Tech? And can you tell us, because a lot of people watching here are American, this is a Canadian-based organization, but it's all over. But tell us about Faith Tech specifically. People maybe don't know what it is.
Yeah, so Faith Tech does 3 things basically, and it was the first thing that connected me in with them, is that we run regular communities. Now facing the same challenges that many churches are facing, in terms of those communities can't be in person for this season. But it was through an in-person community gathering, a meetup, where generally we get together, eat together, learn together, and build something together. Those are the 3 things that happen at those meetups. And I walked into this meetup as a person with 3 lives: one in the church, one in the web business, one in the sort of secular business world, and then found a tribe where this was all seen as one glorious thing. So
wow.
That's the community is there to bring people together who've maybe been living 2 parts of their life slightly separately. They've got their tech work and then they've got their church life. And that community exists to bring that together and give people lasting connections. The second thing that Faith Tech done is it runs something called Labs, which is where we do projects together. So out of the community setting, people will pose problems to us. Churches, charities, mission agencies will come to us and say, hey, we've got a really big problem in this area or that area. And people from within the community will come together and volunteer their skills to build up a solution or a product to solve that problem. And it would generally be a product or a solution that the people who work in these churches or mission agencies would never have thought of themselves, because you've outsourced the creative thinking to a group of people that haven't been within your business or your organization. So that's a really great fun part of what we do. There's about 15 projects on the go at the moment across Faith Tech.
Can you tell us,
imagine,
what some of those are? Maybe you can't talk about all of them, but could you give us some examples of what are some problems you're trying to solve?
Yes. So one of the best stories of a project that we did was someone came to a hackathon and explained that, and this is time significant. At that time, over 5,000 people in Canada alone were going into Google and searching the term "How do I kill myself?" Now we've done an update to that stat. It's now over 8,000 people a month typing that into the Google search bot. Back then, this was 3 years ago, and this problem was brought to the community. Back then, when you typed that in, Google faithfully served up a bunch of horrible, dark websites telling you how to do that. So it would be, here's 7 easy, painless ways to kill yourself. Here's ways of killing yourself where you won't get heard. They're quiet, things like that, really dark stuff.
Wow.
So it just so happened in the room where that was pitched, there was a mental health expert. There was an SEO analyst, a search engine optimization analyst, a web developer, and a communications manager. So they formed a team and bought the domain name howtokillyourself.org. They put lots of good SEO practice into it so that it beat Google at its own game and got onto page 1. Because let's face it, page 2 is the underworld. No one ever goes there on a search result. They filled this website with hope-filled content. So if you go onto that website, if you click on howtokillyourself.org, the first words you see are "you are not alone," and then underneath there are testimony videos of people who were going to commit suicide and pulled back at the last moment and how they're glad they didn't take that step. There's pointers to help, there's pointers to support, all that sort of thing. And James Kelly, our founder, he often speaks at conferences and events, and he's had probably 8 or 9 people approach him after talks to say, that very website saved my life, or it saved the life of a friend of mine who was seeking ways and methods online to really end it. So that's one project. I'll quickly explain one other, which is completely different, which came out of Mission Aviation Fellowship. So these guys, their mission is to reach parts of the world where there are no roads. So they send out pilots of light aircraft who are actually missionaries to go and serve these remote villages and towns and bring provisions in and ferry people around if they need healthcare or whatever. But they came to us and said, we have no way of measuring what our pilots are doing. We can't tell people what impact we're having because they're writing their plans and their consignments and everything on pieces of paper in the cockpit. Some were even leaving them under a rocket and an airstrip in the hope that someone would pick it up and find them. And then maybe at the end of a month, they would report it back to their headquarters in Guelph via email or a spreadsheet or something. And they just weren't getting any data. So a team came together and within 48 hours, they prototyped an app which could go on tablet. And then the pilots could take and they could almost instantaneously put in all the details of their flights, where they were going from and to, who was on there. And then that would ping via GPS back to the office in Guelph to give them instant impact data on what the pilots were doing. And that one's now in too. So they're going into production on iOS and Android now. So, yeah, there are a couple of very different types of projects that we do. But, yeah.
So, I mean, Faith Tech is getting people of faith who have tech skills together to solve problems. And also, I think in many ways, you're trying to reach people in the faith community, reach people in the tech community with the message of Jesus in the midst of their professional life.
Yeah. So we want to make tech Christians into missionaries, but we also want to do mission into the tech community. So yeah, that's absolutely it.
Yeah, tell me what's going on in. We're going to talk about a few things. If people are just joining in, we're talking with Kevin from Faith Tech. It's an organization that's serving, helping, working with people who are Christians, who are tech-based people, who have been an under-recognized community who can change the world for Jesus. And they're bringing them together. They're solving problems in the world through like Christian compassion in technology. And you're doing stuff in Silicon Valley. You're doing stuff in Canada. But tell us, because a lot of people watching would be American, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening in San Francisco area or somewhere in the U.S. market? What does it look? What does Faith Tech look like there?
Yeah, so it's really exciting what's going on in the USA at the moment. We've had probably around 24 different people from different cities across the US reach out to us and say, hey, we've seen what you're doing. Another arm of what we do is called Institute. We create content which creates a Christian posture or creates a Christian conversation around different aspects of technology and how it affects our lives and our, and the way we operate together. And this means that we reach people wherever they are in the world. They find this content and they say, hey, this is really cool. We want to get in touch. But yeah, we've got around 24 cities in the lineup at the moment in the US who want to set up faith tech communities. At the moment, we have Chicago, which is live and well established. We have Silicon Valley, which is being established at the moment with a core leadership team. And James has recently been talking to guys down in LA as well about setting up a faith tech there. Just last month, we went live in Phoenix, Arizona with a Faith Tech hub there. And we're also talking to New York and Boston. So we've got lots of plans with the US in mind. Awesome. And we spent last year creating a scalable model, which means that we can really hand over all the great tools that we use to set up a faith tech community and make it sustainable. So now we've got most of those tools. We're able to really scale up, looking to get to 40 cities globally by the end of the next 3 years.
40 cities. So as people are just joining on, if people wanted to find faith tech, what's the best place? Where do you want to send people who are just tuning in if they're going to look you up online somewhere?
Yeah, just go to faithtech.com.
Okay.
That's our website, and it's got all our cities on there. It's got links to all the content that we have. You can fill out a form there and reach out to one of us about setting up where you are, or just to find out a bit more about who we are and what we do.
Okay, so talk to us about you and the world has radically shifted in the last week. Technology is going to be more relied on than ever in terms of human interaction, church content, working from home, everything. So talk to us about this hackathon and how people can get involved in that.
Yeah. So this came up. Actually, the idea kicked off about 3 weeks ago. We were due to have a booth at the Collision conference in Toronto, which is probably the biggest North American business-to-business tech conference that moved to Toronto last year. And we were going to have a Christian presence there, which we were really pleased about, and we had sponsorship in place and everything like that. And then obviously they switched it to an online only conference, and we had a Zoom call between the three of us on the global team, just lamenting how everything was starting to change and looking 2-3 weeks ahead and thinking, wow, this is going to ramp up before it ramps down in a big way. We were just reminded of a phrase that really birthed faith tech, which is, in the midst of devastation, there's the opportunity for innovation. So we started thinking, okay, what can we do in the midst of all this to innovate? What gift can we give back to the church in reflection to the way the world is changing? And so we came up with an idea for this 1 week hackathon, that it would be online. Obviously, in-person meetings are not on the table at the moment. But a hackathon where teams around the world, so unrestricted by geography or location, could come together, could form based on the skills and talents and interests that they have, and then build products to help the church effectively engage with the communities around it at a time where having technology or not as part of that equation is not a question anymore. It's a must-have, you know. A great article came out from Praxis a couple of days ago saying all organizations, whether they're traditional, whether they're charities, whether they're mission-based, whether they're secular business, they're all at startup phase now. Wow. Everyone's in this of, well, how do we do business? How do we reach out to the people who we normally would have just bumped into at a gathering or at a meeting? How do we create this new landscape and this new ecosystem of tools to reach those in a meaningful way that we can't do so anymore? So we went live with the sign up for the hackathon last weekend, and already 200 people around the world signed up for it. And
what are the skills you need to sign up for that? Like, who do you want to sign up?
Oh, goodness. Anybody and everybody, really. You know, we've got some people on there who are purely creative thinkers who just like to brainstorm, like to ideate, like to bring new ideas to the table. And then there's those who can do the execution piece. So, you know, software developers, web developers, designers, UX, UI, all that sort of thing. And we've got, if I need some encouragement during the day, I just scroll through the current participants list, and just to look at the range of people we have on there. We have artists in there. We have, you know, there's a whole range of different types of creatives that are in there. Whether your creative skill is, writing Java, or whether it's, drawing pictures. You know, it's all those things brought together. So a hackathon's great because it forms as you go along. And that's where, for want of a better phrase, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been part of a hackathon, so that's actually great for me and for others. When I hear hackathon, I think I need to be like a coder or a computer engineer or something to join. But what you're saying is the best hackathons would have a variety of skill sets and approaches.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the last in-person hackathon I did was in Waterloo last October. And we had a bunch of people come along who weren't programmers. And, you know, at the beginning of it, they were all like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to offer of use to this, or I don't know quite where I'm going to fit in. But every single person found it was almost like the Lord had assigned them a role in a team already. They just didn't know it, and they all ended up in these really great roles in teams, helping them build solutions. So yeah, there's use for all types of different background and interest and passion. Some people see them as a great learning opportunity as well. So you get into a hack and you start to build something that's slightly beyond your skill set, but you use that opportunity to build up your skill set in the process. So yeah,
Okay.
they're really great from that perspective.
And so people are submitting requests, isn't that right? Like, or people are, you want churches and the people who are watching us right now to tell your hackathon what problems they need solved or what they think the problem is that they need solved.
Yeah, so in advance of us putting the sign-ups for the hackathon itself online, we reached out to a whole bunch of church leaders and networks around the world and just sent out a questionnaire saying, okay, what are the big problems you're facing right now? And how are you looking? You know, how are things changing for you and in different ways? And you know, for different sizes of churches, for different denominations and different locations, all these different challenges are coming in, and we're just going through a process of pulling those together and then distilling those into 9 or 10 different challenge statements, which will then get posted on the hackathon website, and then teams will form around each of those statements and build products based on what they find. Some problem statements may just result in people doing a whole host of research and then presenting that back as a product. Another one may be, we need a specific platform to do something that we cannot now do because we're not gathering in. And sometimes we're looking at actually societal issues which are happening now, but which we could build tools for the church to reach into those societal issues as a ministry, as an organization that should be, the hands and feet of Jesus in effect.
Right. I mean, I think it's awesome. I mean, I my background before I went into church ministry was working in tech. I worked in a high tech company doing all things tech marketing, and so I don't come from an IT or an engineering background. I come from a marketing background, but this is the people I lived amongst. The people who I talked to were all. And so I lived in Waterloo at the time, which is, a hub in Canada. The Silicon, they call it Silicon Valley North, which just, it's the tech hub in Canada. So talk to us. We're on the Reach and Teach show. And so I think there's a ton of people, who are trying to figure out, okay, so if everything's changed, how are we reaching people on the internet or through technology? I feel like there's some stories I've heard from Faith Tech, from you guys. If you're just joining, you can say hi. I'm seeing some likes coming in. If you want to say hey, or if you want to ask a question about tech and hackathon and what you can do, or are there needs in your church, that problems that you need solved right now that we can like push up to this team of experts who can help you solve these problems for your church, for your community. But meanwhile, Faith Tech and reaching people in tech business for Jesus, as you say, tech missionaries, or whatever you call them. Do you have any stories to encourage people about how you're, people who have connected who aren't people of faith?
Yeah, so it's really funny actually. The project I mentioned earlier, the Mission Aviation Fellowship Project, we purposefully host our communities in tech companies. We like to meet tech people in their first space, and we think we would lose something if we started to gather in churches or other places. Actually, we find that Christian tech leaders are only too happy to let us use their space as well, which is great. So we host our hackathons in different tech spaces around the cities we operate in, and this one was in Toronto, so it was in a tech company in downtown Toronto, and they're open to anyone. So whilst we are an overtly Jesus-focused ministry, we do not we don't restrict who comes in, and we're open to anyone to come in. So we're inclusive from that perspective. So this guy came and joined the team. He's a Muslim guy. His father dropped him off to let him do this hackathon. he was school age, so I think he was 17 at the time. But the way he puts it is he was fed up with just writing papers. He wanted to do something practical. And he ended up in this team that built the hackathon winning project. And he was just blown away the way he got to sit with these experts and to build a product and to learn UX and UI skills that he never would have picked up at school. And that project team has actually carried on since the hackathon for nearly 2 years now. And they meet up once a month in person, not right now, but they would meet up once a month in person and once a week digitally. And every time they meet up, they eat together, they do some building together, but they also pray to Jesus together. And this guy's just in the room with them. And, I just wonder, would he ever have gone into a church? I don't think so. So we're offering a unique entry point for people to meet with Jesus, in effect. And this guy, my prayer is that, he gets on a journey towards the Lord because of all of this. And, he's been really open to talking to people about what's happening and why prayer is such a key thing in what they're doing, and what's the difference between praying to Jesus, and it's just really awesome that's happening. I've bumped into several people who come to Faith Tech out of curiosity and just want to learn more, and then end up getting blown away by what they're hearing and what they're seeing.
That's so cool. Hey, I have a guy here, Adam. He's asking us here how he's in South Africa. How could he get involved?
Yeah, so the first thing to do, go to faithtech.com, ping us a message there. You can also sign up to our Slack workspace, and that's where all the great stuff happens. We've got something like 600 or 700 people globally on our Slack workspace. Every project's got its own channel. Every city's got its own channel. And you go on there, go on the introduction channel, introduce yourself to us, and we'll make sure you feel welcome and we can get you plugged in. Particularly if there's probably other people in South Africa who've already reached out to us that we can link him up with. So,
we're
all connections.
He's just saying here as well that they're officially in lockdown in South Africa. I'm not sure what that means there compared to other places, but Adam's letting us know that he's in lockdown. And so what an opportunity to use technology if he can be involved in some way, creativity, whatever his skills are, to start solving problems for South Africans, and maybe even South Africans. I think of the disparity of wealth in South Africa. What are some problems to solve there with a tech-based solution that also meets the needs of the poor? Okay, we have also just, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so the website, the landing page for the hackathon is covidhack.com.
Covidhack.com, okay.
Yeah, if you go there, you can sign right up from there on the online hackathon, and I think we've already got some guys from South Africa on there already, and it could be that some stuff that they team up online to do something together.
Here, I just I'm going to add it here. I've just added it onto the thing below, wherever it is. There, you'll see it. If people who are watching this on live Facebook, covidhack.com, to check out what Faith Tech is doing, for you to join. And you don't have to be, if you're just tuning in, we were talking about Faith Tech is doing a hackathon to solve problems for the church and for the world right now, but you don't have to be an IT engineer type person to join. We want, I'm learning this too with you, that we want people of all skill sets. If you're a creative problem solver, if you are a researcher, I mean, whatever it is that your skill set or experience is, they put you on teams with different kinds of skill sets to solve problems together. And again, can you talk to us a little bit, because people are coming and going from the live stream? Could you just say again, what is Faith? Who are you and what is Faith Tech? Can you give us another little quick intro as people are jumping on and off?
So yeah, I'm Kevin Burgess. I'm the director for Faith Tech Toronto and Waterloo. And Faith Tech is an organization that brings together people across the intersection of faith and technology. So
awesome.
Christians in tech and church leaders and ministry leaders and those who are just curious to know about why we exist. And we bring them together and we look to create community, to solve problems in the world using technology and Christian content around issues of tech and life and faith.
Yeah. And so in the midst of this, obviously your response as a community with Faith Tech is this covidhack.com. We want people to join and check that out. But what are you seeing online that's exciting you right now that churches or just Christians are doing for the world or for their own congregations? What are some things that you've seen this week, case studies or things you're excited about as you're checking out the internet world?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing that what was seen as a luxury for many churches has now become a must-have, i.e., the technology to reach out to communities. So I've seen examples of, local village priests back at home in the UK just doing a Facebook Live once a day to do a reading and a prayer with their congregations, right through to churches really starting to grapple with this whole online platform for doing church. And the way I've been thinking about it is, we need to go beyond just live streaming a service, because now the need is that we actually create a meaningful spiritual encounter for people, even though they can't meet in person. So, how do you represent some of the sacramental elements of what we do in church in a really effective and engaging way, even though you're doing it from one side of a screen to another or whatever? And we're starting to see some ideas flying around on the hackathon already about that very issue around.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about that?
Stream.
Yeah. What do we do about what I would call, in my thesis work in my master's, I did my thesis on digital evangelism and discipleship, which is this whole conversation of this whole show that we do every week. And so there's some pinch points that are things like communion or Eucharist, the Lord's Supper, whatever you call it, and then baptism would be another one. There's a number of them, but these two stand out to me as regular practices of the church that if you can't physically meet together, what do you do? What are you seeing online people doing about those sacraments of the church?
Yeah, so actually, this is a major challenge we're putting into the hackathon to say to the community that however many people we get by the end of this week, okay, how would you do this? And how would you create this meaningful exchange? So, is there a way that actually, if you're part of a church where communion is passed one to the other as you go and you share the Lord's Supper that way, how can you recreate that online? Is there a way of passing the baton from screen to screen on Zoom or something like that? Actually, you're participating as a group rather than just doing your own thing and then assuming everyone's the same. We're great friends with a guy in the US called Pastor DJ Soto, who runs the VR church.
Okay.
Demand for his technology has rocketed in the last few weeks. There was lots of theological questioning around, should we do church in VR? Does that take away from some of the experience? And funnily enough, some of this questioning just seems to have evaporated because we're in a new landscape where this sort of stuff, it's a must scenario. And DJ has even gone as far as doing a baptism in VR. Now, I'm not going to start a debate about that right now. But what I will say is when I watched the Reddit, I started off with a sly smirk on my face thinking, yeah, come on, VR baptism. By the end of it, I was moved in my heart because the person who was baptized would never have gone into a church. And yet there was a meaningful spiritual encounter of sorts that happened, even though the medium was virtual reality. We were in alt space. And it just makes me think, okay, God's big enough to create the world. God is big enough to demonstrate his presence through whichever dimension we are in right now.
Right.
And that to me is a massive encouragement that I believe we will see God-given encounters happening, whether it's through a church online platform, whether it's through a group Zoom call, whether it's through some sort of AR technology that means that you can almost be at church, but by looking at a phone projected reality that you're part of, and I know people are developing these things right now, right down to very simple local communities getting together and doing church on WhatsApp groups. There's all this technology which was used in bits and starts for people has now become a way of life, and I think that people are talking about what happens when we return back to normal. I think we're heading to a new normal. I think some things that have changed recently will not change back to the way they were before. That actually we're seeing a new way of life in many ways. I do think that eventually churches will gather, that people will get back together, but I think the options for people to engage with spiritual encounter will be massively increased as a result of this situation we've been through. And I think, goodness me, it blows my mind. There's an opportunity for revival in ways and mediums that we've never dreamt of before that are coming through this seemingly tragic crisis that we're right in the middle of. So there's I believe God this virus tool, but I believe God can demonstrate His glory through the outcomes of it.
Yeah, I love this. I mean, we'll wrap up our live stream for now. Just you keep the conversation can keep going by. Kevin, we'll get you after this video closes. It'll be saved on the page, and so we'll get you to just comment below it so that people can find you. People can find
Yeah.
me as well through that. People can, if they go down here, covidhack.com. We want people to join the hack. You don't have to be an IT tech person to do it. And then if you have any stuff, just anything that we can help you with or point, if we don't know the answer, we probably know people who know the answer. That's what I keep saying to people. So we want to help any way we can, resource churches, resource the Christian community in this unprecedented time and a time of change where we probably are not ever going to go back to the way things were. We're entering a new normal. Even if we are, we pray for the day we'll all be able to be out of our homes regularly again, but the world will change. So,
Yeah.
hey, Kevin, thank you so much. Leave any way you want people to find you in the comments below after we get off. And guys, we want you to follow what's doing. We continue to pray for you and to cheer all you church communicators on all over the world, from South Africa to the UK to Europe to Asia, Australia, Toronto, Canada. That's where I'm at. See you soon. Bye.